This program is about unsolved mysteries. Whenever possible, the actual family members and police officials have participated in recreating the events. What you are about to see is not a news broadcast.
Tonight on Unsolved Mystery. In Los Angeles, 22-year-old Matthew Chase made a midnight trip to an automated teller machine. Matthew has not been seen since. A hidden bank camera showed Matthew next to a mysterious figure. On Valentine's Day in 1986, a Houston housewife was murdered. Her husband was a suspect. He steadfastly maintains his innocence. His alibi is airtight, or is it? Dolores Valadez has no parents, no past. She wants to find the mother she never knew and answer a question that has haunted her entire life. Where is my real family? Tell you the touching story of a refugee family emigrating to America. During World War II, they fled their home in Hungary and were forced to live in a boxcar, barely surviving in war-torn Europe. 43 years later, they are trying to find a mysterious American soldier who one memorable Christmas changed their lives forever. Join me. You may be able to help solve a mystery. During the Christmas season 43 years ago, a Hungarian family who'd escaped from the ravages of the Second World War met an American GI named Philip. This refugee family was living a hand-to-mouth existence on an abandoned train in rural Austria. The kindly soldier offered them friendship when they had few friends, food when there was often hunger, and faith when despair seemed insurmountable. With Philip's help, the family survived their ordeal. They now live in America. And they want to reunite with their benefactor so they can thank him for a Christmas that changed their lives. May 1945. As Hitler's Third Reich crumbled, refugees from Eastern Europe choked the highways and rural roads. Some escaping the Nazis, others the vengeful Russian army. Karl Dente and his family fled from Budapest in Hungary, one step away from the guns of the Red Army.
The Russian army just a few miles behind us. So I have only one thing in my mind, just to get the family with me out from there. You know, it's a very strange feeling when you leave a country when you was born. But thousand family was leaving, just leave everything behind, just running the way.
After their perilous journey, the Dentes and other refugees found temporary sanctuary in Austria, in a town occupied by the Americans. As the fall turned to an extremely cold winter, the family was forced to live inside a boxcar. Despite their hardship, Karl and his wife Theresia managed to survive and provide a shelter for their 5-year-old daughter, Brigitte.
The winter coming, we have a tough time to get food. We have no clothing. We have no other place to go. One thing I was very happy, my family never was complaining. My wife never complained.
A few days before Christmas, an American soldier named Philip came to meet Brigitte's parents. He had met their daughter at her American-run school. Somehow managing to surmount the language barrier, Philip asked if Brigitte would come as his guest to a Christmas party given for the refugee children by the American Occupation Force.
I want to take Brigitte to a Christmas party. Christmas. Ho, 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 ho.
Christmas.
Santa Claus. Right.
Brigitte?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes,
Very
yes,
good.
Christmas,
Great.
yes.
She'll have fun.
Thank you.
Okay? See you later, okay?
Brigitte?
When Carl was able to scavenge some material, Theresia made a party outfit for their daughter.
She never experienced any Christmas party before. And after living already so long in a little freight car, no candy, no sugar, no hardly anything, you know, hardly any food. So it was a big gift for us to knowing how happy she will be. And she was happy.
Over 40 years have passed since that night, but to Brigida, it seems like only yesterday.
He looked very, very handsome, like a Prince Charming. And I remember that shiny U.S. button on his lapel. Philip made me feel very, very special. Instead of making me feel safe and happy, he made me feel like a big girl. Well, I felt like a princess. It's like someone opened a magic door. There was lights and music and a very happy atmosphere. It was like the lights went on. I remember the food was very, very fancy. I had not seen anything like it, probably ever. I felt like I was in a dream. I never wanted the dream to end.
It brought a big change in our life, a little happiness, you know, give us back a lot of confidence of the human race.
Merry Christmas! Merry Christmas!
When they coming back from the Christmas party, we have just like a little celebration. Bridget started opening her present. We was very happy, you know, to see our little daughter so happy. We met somebody very nice who did a nice Christmas for all of us. After the war started, that was the first Christmas we have a little happy time with somebody because of Philip. It's a memory, you never forget it.
That evening, Philip and the Dantes discovered that though they didn't share a language, they shared a friendship.
We have a difficult time to communicate, but he was so friendly. You know, we have a lot of laughing, a lot of good time. We was happy that night. We never expected him to coming back. We thought, so Christmas party over, and you know, we have a beautiful memory at the end of it.
But Philip did come back. He became a real-life Santa Claus, giving the children candies and the parents food and other necessities that helped the family endure the many hardships of life without a homeland.
I got it.
But one day, their friendship came to an end.
I came to tell you I'm leaving.
Soon.
Yes, tonight. I want you to have this to remember me by.
Thank you.
One afternoon, Philip showed up and told us his troop is transferred to French. He's very sorry he have to leave. He gave us his photograph. He gave us his address. I was wondering, we gonna ever see him again. It's just like you leave part of the family.
It took 11 years of struggle and hardship for the Dantes to finally make their way to America. Though Theresia passed away a few years ago, Carl and Brigida currently live in Michigan. Unfortunately, during the family's flight across Europe, they lost most of their possessions, including Philip's address. All they have to remember him by is this picture. Based on the appearance of Philip's uniform, military experts believe he was a private. Philip also told Carl and Brigida that he was from Maine. These may be important clues as to Philip's whereabouts. In an hour of our broadcast, Mrs. Pauline Dofty of Augusta, Maine, called our 800 number to say that the man named Philip in our story is her cousin Philip Pelletier. He's a retired postal worker and lives in Hammond, Indiana. We immediately called Carl and Brigida Dente and helped to arrange a reunion. On Wednesday, December 28, 1988, Carl and Brigida's 30-year search for Philip came to an emotional end.
Bridget?
Yes, Philip?
Oh, yes. Oh, I can't believe it. Unbelievable. Hi, feeling, Bridget?
You must be
Just
Lucille.
my wife. Oh, my God.
Nice to see you.
Well, it's really pretty hard to tell you just how I feel after so many years, and trying to recollect everything that we went through together, you know, it's very hard. It's very exciting. It's almost unbelievable.
Oh, my gosh.
Nice to see you. It's something like a Christmas miracle, because when he left, I was thinking about it, I ever see him again. And here we go, after 43 years, we're back together again. It's just like a dream came too, hard to believe it. Sometimes I had a feeling I'm gonna wake up.
Because you were 5, right, at the time, at the Christmas party?
The minute that I saw him, I could see the warmth and the happy look on his face, smiling, and like we really never had lost touch in a way.
Carl, Brigida, and Philip spent the afternoon looking through photographs that brought back memories of that special time they spent together.
We're gonna stay with touch. We're gonna try to visit each other as much as possible. We're gonna renew the friendship what we had before. You know, it's a friendship forever.
Next, the story of a young man who went to get some cash at midnight from an automated teller machine disappeared. Every day, thousands of people do business with their banks using an automated teller machine. It has become a normal part of our life. However, anyone standing alone in front of a bank at midnight, withdrawing cash from the automated teller, would naturally feel apprehensive. It is hard not to nervously look over your shoulder as you wait for the computer to take care of your financial business. At midnight on June 8th of this year, a young man in Los Angeles visited one of these machines. What happened to him suggests our fears might be more real than imaginary. Los Angeles, June 8th, 1988, 11:45 p.m.
Oh, I forgot to deposit my check.
Returning home from dinner with his roommate Teresa Dahl, 22-year-old Matthew Chase remembered that he needed to deposit his paycheck.
It's late. Why don't you take my car?
Okay. Great.
Oh,
Teresa met Matt her car and asked if he could pick up some cat food on the way home.
Okay, see you in a few minutes.
Matthew Chase had known Teresa and her brother Steve since childhood. They all moved to Los Angeles from Medford, Oregon. That night, when Matt left their house, he took only his bank card with him. He left his wallet at home.
It should have taken Matt approximately 10, 15 minutes to run the errand. The bank was about 2 blocks from our home, and normally he walked. And that particular evening, he'd taken my car, so at the most, 15 minutes would be sufficient.
We know that Matt did arrive at the automated teller that night, but he never returned home. 5 months later, his friends and family are still searching for him. The next morning, when Matt still hadn't come home, his roommates called the police.
Hello, my name is Matthew Chase.
They then called the bank, and by using Matt's social security number, convinced them that it was Matt calling. They wanted to find out if he had used his bank card the night before.
There have been transactions, great.
The bank said he had, several times.
Can you tell me what time they were made, what day, and...
Steve and Teresa called the police again.
A light came on indicating that this is not going to be a normal run-of-the-mill case. it's going to be something that requires some in-depth investigation, and it may not turn out to be a good case, as we call them. When we reviewed the bank records, it indicates that he made a successful deposit of a paycheck, received cash back, and then returned to the same branch approximately 30 minutes later and attempted to withdraw $280, which he knows is over the amount of cash he can receive per day. The theory there would be that either he was being forced to attempt to withdraw these amounts, or he was signaling to the bank, to the computer, for help.
That night, 2 more attempts were made to withdraw cash. The first was for $200. It was refused because of insufficient funds. Then, a minute later, $100 was requested. Again, as Matt's paycheck hadn't posted, this amount was also refused. 11 minutes later, the card was used at another branch in a different neighborhood. Again, the withdrawals were unsuccessful. This time, a hidden camera took photographs of Matt. Then, a strange man appeared, standing at Matt's shoulder.
According to these surveillance cameras at the branch, the person standing next to Matt was somewhat shorter, somewhat stockier, and overall, he shouldn't have been in the photograph. No one is going to let someone stand that close to him while they're using an ATM machine where they can see the PIN number.
Police suspect that Matt may have been abducted by the man in the photograph while he was making his first transactions. Then, in an attempt to call for help, they speculate Matt may have deliberately entered erroneous amounts, hoping to attract attention. Over the next day and a half, there were 5 more withdrawal attempts. By this time, Matt's paycheck had cleared, so $400 was paid out from his account. Finally, the card was confiscated by the machine.
We put a freeze on the card, thinking that, number one, getting the card back would tell us where the bank was, possibly where these people are and where Matt might be. And number two, that the police might be able to go get fingerprints off the card.
When the card was dusted for prints, none were found. Police believe that either the card was wiped clean or that Matt's abductor used gloves. Matt's mother and father came down from Oregon to search for their son and the car he drove to the bank that night.
The person in this picture, would you please call the number? At first, we had great hopes, I think, that we were going to stumble onto the car somewhere in near proximity of where they lived. I believe after 3 nights of doing this, we became very frustrated.
Los Angeles can be a dangerous place at night. We saw a lot of things that were very frightening, I think. And that only made it more real to us that something perhaps very serious had happened to Matt.
Police believe that Matt may have been injured in a mugging and was walking the streets with amnesia. Steve and Teresa distributed Matt's picture at a local rescue mission.
Hi, could you do me a favor and keep an eye out? I talked to several of the people there, and a couple of the volunteers that worked at the midnight mission said when I showed them just his driver's license, because I'd run out of posters, said, oh yes, we have seen him. He's been in here several times eating. He's really, and then they just started to describe him to me, and they said, he's very tall and thin, isn't he, and very lanky. And I said, yes, exactly. And for them to get that from one of those tiny pictures from a driver's license is really miraculous. And we thought, well, wow, they really have seen him, and we thought we were just so close to finding him at that point.
On June 27th, almost 3 weeks after Matt's disappearance, the car he had been driving was finally found by the police, abandoned close to where Matt had vanished.
When they found that car, they ran the license plate via the SVS system, and it indicated that it was associated with a missing person and that I wanted the vehicle held for latent fingerprints. The criminalists dusted it for fingerprints, looked at it for other evidence of a crime, and the car was completely void of fingerprints. And this finding the vehicle with no fingerprints would be very unusual in that You and I driving our vehicles in a normal manner will leave prints on certain items within, and this vehicle had absolutely no prints inside.
Police did find one clue in the car, a blue bandana. This bandana did not belong to either Matt or Teresa, and investigators believe it may have been left by Matt's abductors.
I don't know what happened. I know that I hope none of the things that I've dreamed about and wake up in the night and think about are the things that could have happened to Matt. I am very hopeful that he's somewhere and that he's all right. And I really think that I will be with him again sometime.
Today, I sense that he's still alive, and that has kept us going, and we'll never stop looking for him until we find him, and I know we'll find him. He means a lot to me. He's my best friend.
Matthew Chase is 22 years of age. He is 6 feet 2 inches, 150 pounds, and has brown hair and brown eyes. He also has a small tattoo of a $sign behind his right ear. On March 29th, one chapter of this mysterious case came to a close when the Los Angeles coroner's office positively identified the body of Matthew Chase. His remains were discovered in a ravine in nearby Pasadena on September the 17th of last year, 3 months after he disappeared. Identification was delayed by the difficulty in tracking down dental records. The cause of death was a gunshot wound.
We had estimated that he had been down in this canyon area since the last week in June of last year to September when he was located. This case is being handled as a robbery homicide at this point. The man in the bank photograph is wanted for questioning in the disappearance and death of Matthew Chase.
This is an artist's rendering of the prime suspect in this case, based on computer enhancements of the bank photographs. Matthew's car was also stolen and later abandoned. The killer may have been seen driving this car in early June. It was a red two-door 1983 Volkswagen GTI. When this car was recovered, a blue bandana was found inside. It is thought the bandana may have belonged to the killer.
I do hope to find his killer, and I think that we need to see this through, and we will see it through, and this person must be brought to justice.
In a moment, the story of a Houston housewife murdered on Valentine's Day 3 years ago. Her family believes she was murdered by her husband, but he maintains his innocence. At 10:06 in the morning of February 14th, 1986, Valentine's Day, a young, affluent Houston woman, Mary Lou Geri, was found in her home shot 4 times. She was rushed to the hospital. There, she was pronounced dead. She had been murdered. Mary Lou's parents believed that their daughter was murdered by her husband, Stephen Geri. Stephen is adamant that he was not involved and has a minute-by-minute alibi for the morning of the crime. You will hear both sides of the story. On the one side, the anguish of the loving parents who've lost a daughter. On the other, a grieving husband who has to deal with a weight of suspicion. You'll be able to analyze the evidence in this brutal slaying, but watch closely. The details of time and place can be crucial.
Hello, Maria. Happy birthday, Maria.
Mary Lou's body was discovered at 10:06 a.m. At 8:15 a.m., Stephen Geri called Mary Lou's mother, Maria Serrato, and asked her to go over and help Mary Lou prepare for a lunchtime party.
Go over a little bit early and help Mary Lou get ready for it. Super.
As soon as I hang up with him, I dial Mary's number, and she didn't answer the phone. And it got me very concerned because I thought, How strange. She's supposed to be already running around the house doing the last things. Where is she? And so I left. Took me about 20 minutes to get to her house. To my surprise, there was no answer in the back door, and everything looked in perfect condition. Nothing was disturbed. The front door was not locked, and that was a shock right there for me, because Mary was a very careful person. Her door was always locked.
Mary Lou. Mary Lou. ¿Dónde estás? Where are you?
I thought something is wrong, so I walked to the back of the house.
Maria searched systematically. She found Mary Lou lying on the floor.
She looked like she had fainted or something, and I started to kiss her in her face and touching her, and she looked like she was dead. And it got me completely. I was just like a wild person. I thought I was in a nightmare.
10:30 a.m. The paramedics tried to revive Mary Lou, attempting to restart her heart with an injection. Mary Lou was already dead. Unfortunately, this procedure would later make it impossible to determine an exact time of death. Mary Lou had been shot 4 times with 2 different guns, a .380 and a .22. There was no sign of a gun in the house, nor were there any physical signs of a break-in. In the bedroom, Mary Lou's jewelry box was open. Could robbery have been a motive?
It was jewelry laying in there, like she had been selected jewelry or something that she was going to wear. Whoever killed Mary Lou didn't come in the house to steal anything.
Mary Lou's husband disagrees.
Well, there was many things taken. The gross value was about 25 to 30, maybe $40,000 worth of jewelry, fur coats, or other valuables.
There were a lot of valuable things in the house, and nothing was disturbed. This was a well-planned murder.
Mary Lou and Stephen had been married for 3 years. Stephen was an insurance agent, and Mary Lou worked for him. The couple went on vacation to Hawaii and Europe and appeared to be happily living the good life.
It was extremely exciting and the most fulfilling relationship that I have ever had with an individual.
It was a torment of a marriage. The last 2.5 years of her life, it was nothing but crying about one thing and another. They were fighting over money.
She brought out the strongest qualities in me, made me more productive than I had ever been in my entire life. We allowed each other to develop to the fullest.
As Mary Lou's husband, the police naturally viewed Stephen Geri as one of the possible suspects and requested permission to inspect his handguns. The ballistics report proved that Stephen's guns were not used in the shooting.
We'll get back to you.
Stephen also gave the police a detailed account of his movements on the day of the crime. Normally, he worked in his office at home in the early morning. This time, he changed his routine.
I woke up at about 5 that morning. I went upstairs and worked on the computer. I had an extremely busy day. There were some things that I had to finish up. Mary Lou was still in bed. Told her that I would call her at 7. I know that the security system was on when I left the house at about 6:25, 6:30. I went down to 7-Eleven and got another cup of coffee. I left there and went to the post office, picked up our mail for the day. From there, I went to a donut shop and picked up donuts.
Good morning. Yeah, I'd like...
Then I went to Precision Glass, Don Richardson's company, and talked with them for a moment. I started to leave, realized that I had forgotten to call Mary. I went back in at the reception desk and called her at almost 7:30. She was up. She said she was busy. So I told her goodbye.
From 7:30, when he called Mary Lou, to 10:06, when Mary Lou's body was found, Stephen was often in the company of witnesses who have corroborated his alibi.
I tried to...
A private investigator, Bill Elliott, hired by Mary Lou's parents, examined Stephen's alibi in detail.
The witnesses that we interviewed indicated to us that it was not his habit or pattern to leave the house before 9 or 10 in the morning. And this particular day, he claims to have left the house between 6 and 6:30.
When Stephen left home, his first stop was at the 7-Eleven, only 2 blocks away, less than a 5-minute drive.
We interviewed the people at the convenience store where he went first, and it was their recollection, and very positive recollection, that Stephen did not get there until 3 minutes until 7 o'clock. A variation in the alibi that would have given him time to do things as far as getting rid of evidence and that kind of thing.
Could I have a receipt?
The curious thing is Mr. Geri had not only gone to these places that morning, but the following day, he went back and reminded these people that he had been there the day before, which is something that I found unusual.
The evidence regarding the time of death is clouded because of the EMS crew moving in to attempt to resuscitate Mary Lou Schrack. Time of death is questionable. Therefore, the alibi that he gave may be good and may not. I have no way of determining this.
2 years earlier, Stephen had purchased insurance policies on both their lives. Each policy had a total value of $435,000.
Mr. Geri was a big spender, liked to spend a lot of money and liked to live the high life at a higher level than his income was capable of supporting.
In Harris County, I found a little over $120,000 of hard cash judgments that he had against him.
10 months after the murder, Stephen filed to collect the $435,000. Outraged, Mary Lou's parents went to court to prevent him from collecting the money. They claimed he had been the cause of Mary Lou's death and would attempt to prove it in court.
We learned things about the insurance money, and it was on my daughter's name. So all that made us suspect that something was wrong and that he was in part or responsible for the death of my daughter.
Stephen Geri believes there is another reason that the Serratos filed the lawsuit.
Well, there's two things that make the world go round, and that's sex and money. And it definitely wasn't sex, was it?
That's will abide by.
Just as the trial was beginning, after the jury had been picked, an out-of-court settlement was reached between Stephen Geri and the Serratos. But which side had requested the settlement? Stephen or Mary Lou's parents?
My attorney came and got me and said that the Serratos had made an offer to settle the case.
You can imagine that we
didn't. They did.
We didn't have a reason to. Why do we want to do that?
I was adamant that when my attorney presented this to me, that it would not be as an admission of guilt, and that rather that the Serratos would realize that I was not involved, or why would they make the offer, and that we would settle on it. If it had been my daughter and I thought that person was involved, there was no way I would ever take a settlement. And, but they did.
You're not to discuss any aspect of the settlement of this case.
The court documents can't reveal who asked for the settlement, since Judge Sklar ordered the record sealed for 2 years.
And I assume that you wish me to approve the judgment at this time. Yes, sir. All right.
After Mary Lou Geri was buried, The headstone on her grave was smeared with mud and vandalized, and then stolen. The headstone has been replaced. It now reads, Mary Lou Serrato.
It is very uncomfortable for us to go on living, knowing that somebody did something horrible and is not being punished.
No, I did not kill my wife. Mary Lou was the perfect woman for me. We had a wonderful life together, exciting. We traveled. We built one hell of a business, and a fantastic complement for each other.
The police continue their search for information about the two weapons that were used, a .380 caliber and a .22 caliber pistol. They feel these guns will lead them to the killer. Next, the story of an orphan, Dolores Valadez, who was told by her stepmother that she was left on the doorstep in a suitcase. She wants to know where she really came from. Maybe you can help. Dolores Valadez has no parents, no history, no heritage. She doesn't even know how old she is. The stepmother who raised her, Maria, the only one who could tell her who she really is, lies buried in an unmarked grave. What Maria did tell Dolores is a chilling story. She said she found Dolores when she was an infant, abandoned in a suitcase on the front porch. Her only companion, a black kitten. The story has haunted Dolores all her life.
It scared me, the fact that I could have possibly been left at the doorstep. And I never wanted to believe it, and I was determined to find out the truth. I feel like there's relatives of Maria that know the truth, but they're still afraid of Maria and her grave.
Dolores feels that the mysterious power of her stepmother Maria reaches beyond the grave to keep Dolores' identity buried with her. Every day, Dolores wrestles with a simple question: who am I? Who am I? Every time Dolores Valadez looks in the mirror, she can see her Spanish heritage, but she can't prove it. Her lack of a documented past has caused her many practical problems. She's not been able to get a passport. She's barred from receiving money due her and her stepfather's will. And her daughter could not qualify for Mexican-American college scholarships because Dolores' birthright is a mystery. Dolores Valadez is looking for a past, an identity. Perhaps someone in our audience can help Dolores find the answer to her question: who am I? In 1947, the year Dolores believes she was born, San Bernardino, California was a bustling city, swelling with its new Mexican-American population. San Bernardino was a town where Dolores grew up, in the home of Maria Valadez. Maria was a midwife and a powerful curandera, a healer who worked with potent herbs and ointments. She was respected and even feared in the community. Maria had been told that she could not have children of her own, so she adopted two, a boy named Mingo and a girl named Vickie. For some reason, she never adopted Dolores. The baby, she said, was left on her doorstep in a suitcase. As a child, Dolores felt isolated, and although Mingo and Vickie were told who their natural parents were, Dolores' background was left a mystery, a topic to be avoided.
I never felt like Maria really wanted me. I never really felt accepted by her. I felt a lot of resentment. I felt afraid of her many times. Maria always would tell me various stories about how I didn't really belong in the family and so forth and so on.
Mommy, where did I come from?
She would tell me that I arrived in a suitcase and was left in front of the steps.
Tell me the truth.
And I really didn't want to believe it, but I would tell her, well, tell me the truth. Why don't you just tell me the truth? Where did I come from? And she would just turn around and ignore me. It's a real strange feeling to think that Nobody really wanted you.
The only thing that I can remember is my mother said that Dolores came in a suitcase. And that's it, and it was dropped right there. And I thought they were just kidding. You know, and I was just a little girl myself.
When Dolores was in the 4th grade, Maria died. Dolores drifted from orphanages to foster homes until in 1963 she settled down and began to turn her life around. She completed high school, trained as a flight attendant, and got married. In 1970, after the birth of her daughter Erica, Dolores decided she had to know the truth about her own birth. Starting at the San Bernardino Hall of Records, she pursued a paper trail that she hoped would lead to the identity of her parents. Despite her high hopes, there was no record that Dolores had ever been born. With no trace of her birth, Dolores went looking for a record of her baptism.
Dolores.
Finally, in a church 5 miles outside San Bernardino, she found a baptismal record with her birth date and the name of Maria Valadez. Dolores also found a new clue.
And I have godparents.
The record showed that Dolores had 2 godparents, Rodolfo Minjares and Rufina Rodriguez.
I never knew them. Boy, I sure like to get to...
Back in the 40s, people were more inclined to think of children being out of wedlock as something to hide. So there's a possibility that Dolores's godparents are her parents, because I've seen that before in other cases.
Dolores had one other clue to her past. Maria had told her that as an infant, Dolores had been hospitalized for diphtheria.
One of my searches was going to the county hospital in San Bernardino, and on the admissions card, they listed a woman named Esther as my mother.
Dolores had never heard the name of Esther Valadez before. The hospital form stated that Esther was deceased, but in fact, no death certificate was found in the San Bernardino Hall of Records. Strangely, Dolores's admission forms also stated that Maria was Dolores's aunt, not her stepmother. And Dolores's birth date was listed as September the 17th, which was not the birth date she had always celebrated. Clearly, the records may have been falsified. But why?
Several times we have run into cases wherein Mexican families who have had large numbers of children have given a baby, one of their children away, one of their newborns, away to one of the other family members who've been childless. If this was the case with Dolores, none of the family members would ever talk about it, and they would virtually carry it with them to their graves.
If someone gave Dolores to Maria, who did it and why? Perhaps the answer lies in Maria's years as a midwife. Dolores had heard a family rumor that Maria once kept a baby girl she helped deliver. According to the rumor, the baby's mother was a family friend. Dolores decided to question her.
Hello, my name is Dolores Valadez, and I grew up in the L Street area of San Bernardino. This lady lived in the Valadez's home around the time that I could have been born.
A moment. Well, yes, come on in. Okay, thank you.
She was nervous and couldn't keep her composure very well. I've heard rumors that you were my mother. Are you my mother?
No, I'm not your mother, and as much as I would love to be your mother, you have not given me any proof.
And I look very much like her daughter's picture. I could be her twin, but she keeps denying that she is my mother.
She's mad. I mean, she wants to know who are her parents. You know, she doesn't want anything from them. All she wants is, what is my name? When's my birthday? That's all she wants. She doesn't want nothing else but that.
Dolores had isolated 3 possible mothers. Esther, the woman named in her hospital records, Rufina, her baptismal godmother, and the reticent family friend. But none of the leads had paid off.
My mom, I know that.
Dolores felt her last hope was Mingo, Maria's adopted son. He had been reluctant to talk, so while we were interviewing Mingo, Dolores confronted him. Dolores claimed that when they were younger, Mingo had told her that he knew the truth.
Oh, you didn't? I'm positive that years ago you told me that you couldn't tell me the truth.
No, I don't remember.
Do you remember that?
I don't remember that.
You don't remember that, huh? No. So you don't know anything at all? Sometimes I get the feeling that he's still afraid of Maria, even in her grave. And there really isn't anything to be afraid of. People don't come back from the dead. I have felt very frustrated and very discouraged, but I still have a feeling inside of me that there are people out there that know. They're just afraid. I have prayed a lot about my parents coming forward or somebody coming forward with the truth. I don't want to hurt anyone by them admitting that they're my parents. And if they want to come forward and acknowledge that I'm their daughter, that would really make me happy. I have a very strong feeling that somebody out there is looking for me too.
Tonight we have seen 4 stories without endings, 4 stories in which ordinary people have been thrust into the center of an unsolved mystery. Perhaps someone tonight can help them. Perhaps they were watching. Perhaps it's you.